Hey there, horror fans, and welcome back to another episode of Curtis Review. Today we're once again diving into the thrilling and chilling world of slasher movies, more specifically, Friday the 13th, A New Beginning. Since October happened to have a 13th this month, I figured I had to get in a review from one of the movies of this franchise.
But it's not actually Friday the 13th today, though.
I know that. I've been busy. I've been running behind.
But, why even bring it up?
Will you just let me do the dang intro already? Get off my back. So anyways, folks, buckle up, because we're about to discuss why this installment is a true epitome of sleazy slasher glory. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and ring the damn bell so you never miss out on these gory insights again. Let's get started. In Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, we revisit the cursed Camp Crystal Lake and its tormented history. The film begins with a traumatized Tommy Jarvis, who had previously encountered the infamous Jason Voorhees. Tommy, now a troubled young adult, is haunted by his past encounters and the brutal killings he witnessed. A New Beginning happens to be the second movie of the Tommy Jarvis trilogy, though that doesn't really mean anything for the plot here. The actor playing Tommy Jarvis in the film, John Shepherd, is decent in the role. He's effectively kooky, touchy, and emphatic. The character becomes so one-note and goofy here that he doesn't really have much to do. In fact, he kind of disappears for a chunk of the movie. Tommy ends up at a halfway house, and as the other troubled teens start dropping off one by one, it seems a killer is in their midst. Part 5 is known as being the big flopper of the franchise, cushioned between two entries that fans deemed the best movies of the franchise, Part 4, otherwise known as the final chapter, and Part 6. The reason for this one not being as well renowned is because Jason isn't actually in this movie. It's a whodunit situation, a caper, and this could have been so interesting, but again, they don't do much with the plot or the writing. There's not much to be mined. This is partially due to the direction of the movie, which is true for a lot of the movies in this franchise. Friday the 13th movies are not intended to win Oscars, but sometimes they get a director who does create a well-made slasher movie. And after watching Part 4, Part 5 is just kind of a goofy, campy horror movie. I was able to kick back and appreciate the movie's vibe, and that's really its main selling point. And to touch on the sleaziness, that's kind of one of the most compelling elements of the movie too. The director, Danny Steinman, happened to have worked on a couple of hardcore pornos before making Friday the 13th Part 5, and even said himself that he basically shot a fucking porno in the woods, and you wouldn't believe the nudity they cut out. And nudity there is. The whole crux of this franchise is that some overly sexed teenagers went off to do their business, a child died, and his mother went on a killing spree as a result. So you do need some tits and ass in there, because it's just another part of the feeling of these movies. Is this entry a bit more gratuitously sexual and have more nudity? Yes. But it does help nail that sleazy vibe. And if you're into stuff like that, this movie will definitely scratch that itch. Does it make sense for the plot or the characters? Hell no. And this leads me to the point of our characters. There are so many goddamn characters in this movie. Tommy Jarvis, of course, is the only meaningful one. And then later, kind of suddenly, we get our final girl in Pam, as well as the final kid, Reggie, who both help to defeat Jason, but they're also both kind of flat. Okay, Reggie is super compelling and cute, but they really don't give him much to do here. My favorite scene of the movie is the intro, where we see Corey Feldman make a cameo appearance as the childhood Tommy Jarvis. The scene is super effective, spooky, and it's great watching Jason rip those two guys apart who try to dig up his grave. Interestingly enough, the entire scene was shot on a Sunday with Corey Feldman in his own backyard in between his filming of The Goonies. As far as all the other characters, they're honestly all just kind of weird. One's a kind of early proto-goth that looks exactly like Robert Smith from The Cure. Another kid has a stutter, and then we get to Demon and Anita, played by Miguel Nunez and Jerry Fields. Their whole sequence is bizarre but effective, and you will never stop quoting the line, "Those damn enchiladas." And then as Demon goes to the outhouse, Anita kind of shows up to kind of mess with him and shake the outhouse, and then they start singing to each other. Ooh baby, hey baby. Ooh. And and it makes no fucking sense in the scheme of the movie or the plot, and it's so strange. And then they both inevitably just end up getting killed. So, and honestly, I would just have loved to have been a fly on the wall of this set. It sounds bonkers. Like, if you don't know much about this movie, watch it, Google the history of it. It had to have been a crazy set experience. And then we have the overly vulgar backwoods mother, played to hilarious effect by Ethel Hubbard. She gets a couple of excellent quotables as well, and helps add even more to the sleazy and unintentionally funny tone of this movie.
You big dildo. Eat your fucking slop.
There's an argument to be made that this stuff might even add tension to the movie. As a viewer myself, I was like, what is going on? Like, what are they trying to build toward? Is there some greater purpose here that I'm missing out on? And there definitely isn't, but it definitely kind of makes you wonder, like, what the hell's going on? Now let's talk about some of the kills. There is a total of 22 in this movie, but my favorite one is when Jason effectively squeezes a guy's face in using a belt and a tree. There's a lot of penetrative imagery in this movie, pipes through stomachs, machetes through mattresses. And if this movie were actually deep, I would try to mine some meaning out of that, but there's not really anything there. And for Steinman and co, this is really just an excuse to keep the film rolling. The gratuitous killings just add another layer to the trashy tone that they're establishing. From the opening scenes of Friday the 13th: A New Beginning, Harry Manfredini's score immediately plunges us into a world of foreboding. Haunting, discordant notes create an eerie atmosphere, setting the stage for the kills and horrors that are to come. And this music is one of the elements of these movies that has made it so iconic. Manfredini's compositions are a huge part of what made Jason a household horror name. At this point, if you haven't already figured it out, Friday the 13th Part 5 isn't a good movie by any stretch. It's fun, it has a vibe, but don't expect anything to make sense here. These movies were kind of the meme horror films before memes really became a thing. But I have to say, I wish we got more movies like this in major studio releases in 2023. It seems that major studios these days are only betting on trauma bonding type horror films, which is fine, but it makes me long for those grindhouse schlock experiences in theaters. Movies just aren't the kind of spectacle they used to be. There is a place for movies like Friday the 13th, and while I do think 1985 was the perfect year for this kind of thing, it'd be nice if we got more stuff like this now in 2023. Famously on their review show, Siskel and Ebert much maligned the Friday the 13th franchise. They were viewed kind of like I've described already, as schlocky, gory, gratuitously sexual, may have even been viewed as the downfall of cinema by our society. These movies were deemed as lower than movies, something that should not be appreciated for the same reasons that I do appreciate them. And while I agree these aren't the best movies ever made, they're not trying to be. And in Danny Steinman's case, he really was just trying to make a porno in the woods, so the fact that we got this weird little piece of cinema history is pretty cool. A lot of Ebert's criticism of this movie is that it's just leftover recycled garbage. But couldn't the same be said of the current cinema landscape as far as the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And I wonder how much of the criticism these movies got was more of a product of their time. Now we have comic book franchises that continue to go on and on, but we don't get movies like Friday the 13th anymore, which I view as an overall more fun experience than any of the Marvel movies I've seen in the last 10 years, barring the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. I wonder if this movie was just a low-hanging fruit for them to pick on in an era that ushered in some of the most iconic and classic horror movies and movies in general of all time. Not to mention, the history of Friday the 13th is indicative of being formulaic. People like formula. That's why these larger movie franchises exist still to this day. That's why we keep getting reboots and requels and like remakes of everything. TV and movies don't always need to be considered good or critically acclaimed in order to be a good time. It's okay for something to be mediocre if you left the theater or your living room couch, having enjoyed a couple of belly laughs and penetrative pole stabbings. What's the difference at the end of the day? I'll close my thoughts by talking a little bit about tone and how important that is to a horror movie's success. Horror movies can embody a different kind of space than your typical drama or comedy. They can exist purely as mood pieces, art films, etc. They don't need to follow a particular plot to be interesting. Films like Exorcist 3 or Halloween 3 Season of the Witch both excel in creating a vibe and feeling that is palpable to the viewer. Now, those are both very different films. Exorcist 3 is one of the best horror movies ever made. Halloween 3 is more of an interesting and almost hypnotic look into what that franchise could have become instead of just a bunch of recycled Michael Myers movies. It's all about the feeling that those films exude, and that's what Friday the 13th Part 5 has, and the franchise as a whole. Kind of like a deep dish pizza, that layer of drippy oil drizzled all throughout Friday the 13th Part 5 is what makes it special and exciting. It has the iconic music, the eerie setting, and the typical slasher kills. But there's some surprises in there, like a beheading off of a motorbike. But it also has some weirdo dialogue and overacting that feels so out of place, it ends up adding to the movie's appeal. This is the space that camp in horror movies can embody. And I champion campy movie experiences as being worthy of appreciation and carried on in the cult horror movie traditions. Is Part 5 my favorite of the franchise? Hell no. If you would like to watch my favorite entries of the franchise so far, check out Part 4, the final chapter, and Part 2. Both are effective slashers with compelling direction and decent writing. Part 5 is greasy.
Oh, that's greasy.
That's really fucking greasy.
Yeah, it's greasy.
And there you have it, folks. Friday the 13th, A New Beginning, embodies the essence of a sleazy slasher, delivering all the elements that keep slasher fans coming back for more. If you enjoyed this breakdown, please hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. And remember, stay tuned for more spine-chilling discussions right here on this channel. Until next time, stay creepy and peace. Oh, God. Those damn enchiladas! God damn it. Oh, what was in those things?
Hey, baby, you doing okay?
Huh?
Hey, baby. Ooh, baby.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
Hey, baby. Ooh, baby. Hey, baby. Ooh, baby.
Ooh, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby. Hey, baby.
Sorry, Jason, this time the lights went out on you. I give Friday the 13th Part 5 no stars.